We gotta stop giving these white supremacist W's. I am sick of it. The next person they try this bullshit on, needs to say, fuck no, I'm not stepping down. What? And if your response to me saying that is, oh, you're a tough guy. If that's your response, then you're a bitch. This is the era of not stepping down from shit. They don't step down from nothing when they're pressured to. We shouldn't step down from shit when pressured to. The first black president of Harvard, and they try to make sure that her tenure there was the shortest lived. How about that? Now, I'm not claiming that they mounted this pressure campaign on her solely because she's a black woman, but because she's a black woman, the first black president of Harvard, she was leading diversity and inclusion efforts, and she believes that systemic racism is a thing. Ideas which are dangerous to these white supremacists like Christopher Rufo and Bill Ackman, the billionaire, who was a co-leader in this effort. And you better believe the shit that they're alleging wasn't the reason why they mounted this pressure campaign. They don't care about allegations of plagiarism. Bill Ackman's own wife committed egregious plagiarism. You know how many presidents of Harvard and professors probably did the same thing and most likely way worse than her? It's not about that, man. It's not about her defending the students because they were chanting from the river to the sea. It's not about none of that. These guys have been waiting for her to slip up and do something that they could use against her. The guy Christopher Rufo literally admitted it. This was a hit job, and this is the first time we've seen them be so open about it and come out and actually admit it. Look what this loser, Christopher Rufo, probably the most envious, nosy, prominent white supremacist in this country. This is what he said when talking to Politico. Politico asked him, how much credit do you think you deserve for Gay's resignation? He says, first was the narrative leverage, and this was done primarily by me, Christopher Brunet, and Aaron Sebarium. Second was the financial leverage, which was led by Bill Ackman and other Harvard donors. Bill Ackman, the billionaire. And finally, there was the political leverage, which was really led by Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, masterful performance with Claudine Gay at her hearings. When you put those three elements together, narrative, financial, and political pressure, and you squeeze hard enough, you see the results that we got today, which was the resignation of America's most powerful academic leader. You see? This shit was their plan all along. You see these cowards? It took this pussy motherfucker and billionaires pumping mad money with the help of people in Congress and racist ass people in media and so-called journalists that are willing to push out any story as long as it smears any black person in a position of power. They all had to gang up on this one woman. It must feel really good to not have nothing better to do but just go after people and just try to ruin their career because you got all this money behind you and all these people in media. This could be done to anybody. I'm not impressed by this. And it's so weird how proud of themselves they seem after doing this. Like as if they did something heroic. This shit makes you look so weird and so corny and so out of touch. Like, y'all are clearly the supervillains in this story, and you're just coming out and admitting it? It must be sad to be this miserable. To have this much power and so little to stand for. You can tell these guys are really lonely. They have very little friends. When they were in school, these were bullied. Some of these dudes guarantee you if they would have went to public schools, they would have had a high chance of being a school shooter. These are the people that we gotta watch, man. These are the people that got a lot of skeletons in their closets. I'm telling you, man. These people are weirdos. This Christopher Rufo, weirdo, nerdy ass. Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, all these dudes, man, something's really off with them. There's just something really unnatural about this much focus on somebody in their career. I just want to say this. They're going to keep doing this. And where are we going to end up? Every time a black man or woman gets into a position of power, they're going to try something like this. So, or we just understand that they're trying to normalize this. To me, this backlash to her was crazy. You see how she was interrogated and badgered at the Senate hearing? The way she was talked down to, and it was just normalized. Doesn't this scream of know your place? Doesn't it? Yeah, she should have never stepped down, in my opinion. And I know what some of you are going to say. Oh, you're not in her position. You don't know what it's like. She was getting death threats. I get all that. I'm not criticizing her. What I'm saying is, are we going to every single time there's death threats, we're just going to step down? We're going to let them hold us hostage? Every time some toothless hillbilly calls in and leaves a threat message, we're just supposed to quit? We're just supposed to step down from our position? Do you understand how unreasonable that sounds? Even if 20 or 30 people call in leaving death threats, are we all supposed to just become hostages to 0.002% of the whole population? Come on. And if I quote unquote sound like a tough guy, then you're just a bitch. Because I'm not talking about doing anything tough. I'm talking about not stepping down from a position that you've earned. In my honest opinion, Harvard should pay for security for her. And she should push Harvard to do that. It's the least they could have done for her. Now, as far as support from her colleagues and contemporaries, she should have gotten a lot more of it. To their credit, some of them did go on MSNBC and show support and said that this was a hit job.
Great to have you with us. First, if you can respond to, and were you surprised by, the resignation of Claudine Gay yesterday?
Thanks, Amy, for having me on. I have to admit, I wasn't surprised, but I was extremely disappointed. This is a terrible moment for higher education. Harvard and the University of Pennsylvania are just the beginning. The political attacks that you've just profiled by Elise Stefanik and most other members of the House committee that held those hearings on December 5th have actually declared war on the independence, on academic freedom, on the truth of American history and our present at all colleges and universities, just as Governor DeSantis has done in Florida and Greg Abbott has done in Texas, and other governors and legislative bodies in many other states. This is the next step in now a 3-year-long campaign to destroy this country's capacity to address its past and its present, to deal with the structural racism, the systemic inequalities that cause premature death amongst millions of Americans every year.
They have confused the discussion of diversity and CRT, which most people who talk about don't know what it is, with freedom of expression and ideas. How do we unmuddle this?
Well, I mean, I think that Eddie's point earlier about good faith and bad faith is crucial here. That you can only unmuddle it if you're dealing with people who are having this argument in good faith. For the people who Rufo mentioned, their agenda was to remove Claudine Gay. There's no unmuddling that unless it's just to be clear that that's what's happening here. There's one other thing. That I think is important, which I've seen, a few people, Brett Stevens and a number of other people make this claim about Claudine Gay, saying that her intellectual output was thin. She'd been published in all of the top journals in her field.
But just the waves, the news making the rounds in right-wing circles just completely overwhelmed their voices. And I didn't see any Democrats in Congress sticking up for her. Where the fuck were y'all at? Maybe some did, but I don't remember seeing any. People, where are we going to end up if they keep forcing us to quit every single time whenever they don't want one of us in positions of power? They're going to keep taking it further and further and further. How dare you be a black woman and become president of Harvard and talk that DEI shit is basically what they're saying. Then it's going to be, oh, how dare you be a black woman and be a superintendent in this school district. Then, oh, how dare you be a black man and be a police chief, and so on and so on and so on, until we have no positions of power at all. This is giving them the ammunition that they need so they can feel more bold, so they can feel more powerful, and they can continue to do this every chance they get. You have no idea how much this emboldens them, how powerful this makes them feel. And I know some of y'all might think, oh, I don't care what happens to her. She's just part of the bourgeoisie. She's only worried about her own family and her rich friends. If that's how you feel, you don't care about the bigger implications of this. No, man, I don't get it and I don't care. And Claudine Gay, she's just a part of the same white supremacist system. Listen, man, we can't all be Malcolm X. Everybody has their own personalities and temperaments. And her being maybe more academic than being an activist doesn't take anything away from her or make her some kind of sellout. Now, I know it's not a whole lot of people that think this way, but they be out there and they be on Twitter talking shit, so I just felt like I had to address that. But seriously though, what was Claudine Gay supposed to do? What, burn Harvard down? Give me a fucking break, guys. Well, Harvard is just a racist institution. So what is your alternative? One of these rich old white men get back in power and be like, we got to make sure this never happens again. We got to make sure that we don't get another black woman as the president of Harvard. Is that what you want? Is that what the fuck you want? We got to stick together, man. It doesn't matter if you don't know her personally or if her philosophy or politics don't match yours 100%. The same people doing this or the same people trying to disempower the rest of us. And maybe you're here thinking, what's your point? Or what is this guy going on about? My point, like I said, is that we fight back against this. Not just her colleagues and her contemporaries, but us, we the people. If you got a platform, talk about this. You can make phone calls to Congress. Tell them to speak on this kind of Reach out to other academics, professors, authors, and scholars, and ask them to get involved. If you're a writer, you can write articles about this. Or you could even work on putting pressure on the people that ran this campaign, people like Christopher Rufo. Put pressure on him to back off and apologize. There's so many directions you can take this. And you might be thinking, oh, that's not going to work. But you'd be surprised if enough people put pressure on him, if their scheme and their plot receives more publicity. If this whole quote-unquote pressure campaign would have been fought with even a little bit of strategy, this could have backfired spectacularly in their faces. Mrs. Claudine Gay, I wish you luck. I wish you to get an even better position and continue on having a successful career. Maybe there's candidates that would have done a better job than her. Maybe there's a chance that she's not really a good person. Maybe there's a chance that she screwed people over before. I don't know every single detail about her life. And I don't care. I'm not her goddamn lawyer. I'm defending what she represents. A black woman in one of the most prestigious, if not the most prestigious educational institution in the country, who made it all the way up to the top, defying the odds and everything stacked up against her, that decided to fight against the racism within that institution. And if any part of that sounds like a sellout to you, then I don't got nothing else to say to you. To the white supremacists that are happy about this and see this as some kind of like huge victory, go get laid or something. I think a big part of the reason why you guys have so much hate in your heart is because you're lonely. You don't have nobody in your life. So because you can't improve yours, you want other people's lives ruined. Go meet people. A lot of y'all got money. Go overseas. Go to Europe where isn't it supposed to be easier over there for y'all? Aren't women in Europe like more traditional wife material? Go over there. And to the losers that worked on this project to try to ruin this woman's career, karma's a bitch, and I know you're gonna get yours. You're gonna be on the womp womp screen one of these days, either losing your own career or getting humiliated, and I will be here for it.